Last week, Marshall and I decided to do a fast food draft in honor of the Wendy's Thin Mint Frosty. Today, we're going to be going day by day and comparing who won the draft, and the loser of the draft is going to review a piece of media that the winner chose. So starting off on the first day, it was Monday, I went with the McDonald's Quarter Pounder with cheese. Marshall went with the Wendy's Baconator. Marshall won the first day 52% to 48%. The second day was what's the better chicken sandwich? This one I absolutely smoked, Marsh. It was the Chick-fil-A Deluxe.
Decimated.
Yeah, it was the Chick-fil-A Deluxe at 64% to the Popeye Spicy Chicken Sandwich by 36%. Though that was kind of to be expected. I smoked Marshall again on the third day with the Arby's Curly Fries, his vote getting only 34%. To my McDonald's fries getting 66%.
Which is absolutely criminal.
No, yeah. Even though I picked the McDonald's fries, the public's wrong. It's very clear. The Arby's fries are so clearly better. Though our friend Cole did say that the regular Arby's fries are slept on. So then, on the fourth round, we had the Dairy Queen Reese's Blizzard versus the McDonald's Oreo McFlurry. I went with McDonald's. Marshall went with Dairy Queen. He won in a squeaker. He just barely won. It was 51 to 49. This was like the 2000 presidential election.
Oh, my God.
Counties in Florida.
Was that close?
Yes, it was by just a hair. And then finally, the winner of the draft, the last day, it was Chick-fil-A. It was Chick-fil-A Frozen Lemonade versus McDonald's Sprite. Marshall won with McDonald's Sprite. 55% to Chick-fil-A Frozen Lemonade, 45%. Thank you for participating in this draft. I had to review a video Marshall sent me about the Costco Guys. For those of you who are listening to this in 20, 30 years, the Costco Guys was a TikTok trend that blew up around the time of the 2024 presidential election. You might remember their famous appearance on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, or if you're a fan of the podcast, Marshall had to review Jingle Boom back around Christmas time.
So I had to get him back for it.
Yes, because our podcast is like milk. We don't want to age in any sort of nuance or class. We're trend followers. But I was listening to the Costco lore. It's about an 8-minute video on YouTube. I was listening to it while walking up the streets of State College in a leather jacket. I was freezing my ass off. My friend Tommy skated past me. He starts yelling, it's like, yo, what up, dude? And I'm like, I can't hear you. I'm listening to the Costco Guys. And I just keep trucking forward, listening about AJ. As you know, the dad for the Costco Guys, apparently he started off as a wrestler. I knew he was a wrestler. I did not know what he was called. Something Eric. I don't want to look it up.
Yeah, no one really remembers.
Yeah, but AJ apparently named his kid after his wrestling persona, which is absolutely wild. There's one thing to name your son after yourself, but to name it after your persona, like what? Is Jimmy McGill naming his son Saul Goodman?
Yeah, you never know.
What are we doing? I guess it's for marketing, but apparently AJ is looking, as of the recording of this video, AJ is looking at potentially taking Big Justice out of school because the whole Big Justice gig is a little too much for him. You know, they're looking at, quote, alternative options.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so
you know some crazy? I didn't even watch the video I sent you.
No way! No, to be fair, I never listened to Jingle Boom, so I can't blame you really either.
Yeah, or the Hawk to a podcast episode you also made me watch.
No! You'll never see me listen to that. Never! Never! Unless I lose again. Yes, alternative options reminds me of the first Trump administration press secretary when they defined facts as alternative facts. That's sort of what they're looking at. I feel like the only other piece of lore that's substantial within the Big Justice AJ universe is that they got kicked out of Costco when they first did it. They live in Florida, and I'm not surprised. Yeah, because they were given their 5 big booms. I had to back up like 20 feet to do that. There's like a giant yardstick I use to measure myself. Yeah, they had to get kicked out of the Costco because they were yelling. But now apparently corporate knows about them, and while they're not officially endorsed by corporate is definitely a fan of them, at least for the short term. Also, fun fact, not in the video, apparently there are Walmart guys. Have you heard of the Walmart guys?
No, I haven't heard of the Walmart Guys. I've heard of the DG Duo.
The DG Duo! Who the hell are the DG Duo? What?
I don't know. I was in a random rabbit hole on TikTok, like during like the beginning of the Costco Guys era, and I saw
The
this, and I
era.
was just. I mean, I haven't seen them in the light of day since then, so I mean,
Oh.
I'm pretty sure they fell off the face of a cliff, but never
Or
say
into a
never.
bargain bin. Yes, every empire has one final golden era before it implodes on itself.
Oh boy. All right, well, I guess we should talk about the movie that we're reviewing this week, right?
Yes, a very strange movie, but one I've been wanting to watch for a while. My mom actually recommended this to me. Can you believe that? She recommended it to me right before we watched it.
No, I had no idea she watched this.
No, yeah, she always gets me when she told me she was a Donnie Darko fan. That threw me through a
Oh yeah,
loop. Makes
definitely.
It reminds you that your parents were kids once, teenagers once. But yeah, we're gonna sort of go by because there's three main plot lines in this. I guess we'll start off talking about Kevin Spacey, his character Lester Burnham's plot line.
Yeah, this dude is pretty much going through, I guess what you would say is a midlife crisis, but he's able to mask it absolutely perfectly. So he goes from, working your everyday job, having a barely held together marriage with absolute just hot glue and thumbtacks, like this place.
He's
And
depressed.
out of nowhere, out of absolutely nowhere, him and his wife are going to their daughter's
Oh,
like kind of like dance recital slash like cheerleader
it's
like
like
thing.
halftime show to basketball game. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
pep
yeah. All right,
rally.
yeah. There you go. And during this, he
Ugh.
gets absolutely mesmerized by what's the daughter's name?
Um,
Jane.
it's Jane's friend Angela.
Yeah, he is absolutely just stunned. He is landlocked in his position, just absolutely mesmerized by this barely legal girl, mind you.
Is she
I believe
legal?
she.
I don't
Yeah,
think they
yeah.
ever address it.
She. They never mention it, but like I'm assuming she's around the same age that Jade is, which is 18.
No, Jane's
So
16.
like, is she 16
Yeah,
really?
she's 16.
Oh Lord Jesus Christ! Okay, that adds more
Yeah.
to this. I didn't even realize
Yeah.
that. But moving forward, he gets
Yes.
mesmerized and he kind of gets into a uh kind of like what's the word I'm looking here for?
His Tyler Durden era.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that works. It's Tyler Durden era, and he just starts seeing her start to undress herself, and then he sees all these rose petals come out of her as she takes her top off,
It's like a dream
and
sequence.
that kind of starts the change in his whole demeanor as a person. We see him start jerking off a lot more, which I think is a really interesting plot point in this movie. I know it sounds terrible, but it's kind of funny
Did you
because of the
know
fact that
did you know originally in Breaking Bad, one of the opening scenes was Walt trying to jerk off in his bathroom but he can't get a hard on?
really, I never knew that.
I'm glad they cut that out.
Of course. But where did I leave off at? Oh, yeah, he was jerking off a lot, which kind of boosted his demeanor because he wasn't getting anything from his wife.
Yeah.
And then we start to get into the point of when he starts smoking weed.
Oh
And
yeah.
that just changes everything. His wife starts to just bash on him more and more. He absolutely crashes out on his place that he works at, saying that he works for a bunch of glorified assholes and he's been a whore for this company for the last 14 years. They tell him he's fired, and then he has blackmail that the CEO of the company has been using business affairs and paying off strippers up to the amount of $50,000.
Yes, it's like Hunter Biden running the company.
It's absolutely ridiculous what this dude goes through.
So he blackmails his company, and his character essentially just goes through an evolution of a midlife crisis. That's really what this is. This is a midlife crisis of extremes. It keeps going. He gets a job at a fast food place, which is really funny. There are so many good bits where he's talking about trying to have the lowest amount of effort in terms of his career because his wife's also a breadwinner. He's basically emulating their neighbor, Ricky Fitz, the son in the neighbor's house, who moves in and gets a crush on his daughter, Jane. Now, personally, I feel like Lester's arc, I've seen this done before plenty of times. Lots of media talks about midlife crises. A big reason why is because despite his actions, Kevin Spacey it was an amazing actor, probably still is,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
he elevates the performance to another level. He displays the I don't really think he's pathetic, but definitely the sadness of Lester at the
Yeah.
start of the film, and he just goes ape shit. I feel like the amount of times I saw his ass, I was not expecting. I was not expecting nudity, but it
Yeah,
was
there was a good bit of that.
yeah, it was creepy, it was disturbing, it was funny, it was endearing, it was scary. Lester's arc, he basically goes through puberty, if you think about it, because he starts off impotent, and as the film progresses, he gets moody, he lashes out. He's still very much attracted to his wife, but because she's such a perfectionist, he can't really he doesn't feel
Do
like she's
anything with it.
authentic. Yeah.
Exactly.
So Lester's character, I feel like what makes this different from other midlife crisis media is just how far they push the envelope with it, how far they're willing to go, the types of topics they're willing to address. And also, too, the film is hilarious. There are a lot of really funny jokes in this one.
So many good quips. Like I think Lucas, what in the first 2 minutes of the movie, it's literally you just see it like pan over his city, and then he's like, you ever wonder what it would be like to live a normal life? And then what it cuts to him in the shower jerking off, and he's like, this is going to be the highlight of my day.
Strong
Everything
opening.
will go downhill from here.
Well, it says everything you need to know about him, definitely. It's such a patheticness, and it's so funny. I want to talk now about Carolyn, who's his wife. I honestly relate to her a lot because she's someone who's driven by ambition. She is a realtor who wants to be, the best realtor around. She doesn't feel like Lester really strives for anything greater in life. He just kind of everyone just kind of sticks it to him like his
Yeah,
old
yeah, he just
boss.
goes by with it.
Yeah. And so Carolyn's whole arc is sort of doubling down, realizing why she is the way she is. I really like that angle. I feel like it's very easy to simplify her, especially if you're coming from a male perspective. Lots of dudes could mischaracterize her as a bitch in the same way that people grossly mischaracterize Skylar White in Breaking Bad when it's a lot more nuanced and complicated because, this is a human. She's not really doing anything wrong. We're just walking in a flawed person's perspective. Therefore, we demonize her as a result. But I feel like Carolyn's motivation, her
Very good
determination,
point.
the desire to strive for more is something so endearing. And in a way, you root for both of these characters in their struggle. You know that they're bad for each other and that they have toxic behavior because she is just really inauthentic. She is just unflatteringly inauthentic. She forces Lester, she takes him to this party, she forces him to kind of put on a smile, then he spits in her face by making a scene, making out with her, and she's not really into it. My favorite scene, I think, that really embodies their relationship is when they're on the couch together. Lester starts turning her on. Mind you, this is the first time they're going to have
Yeah,
sex in probably years. And he's holding a beer, and Carolyn tells him that he's going to spill the beer on the couch. And she's very much a materialist, which is something I don't relate to nearly as much as the ambition, but there are flaws on both sides, and I feel like that's something that really makes her character shine.
absolutely. My personal favorite moment of her was probably when she got absolutely bitched by Nathan in the drive-through of the
Oh yeah,
fast food place. It was
yeah.
absolutely insane. And you want to know something terrible, Lucas? I hate that I bring this up again. You want to know where I know what this scene is?
Oh no! Say it ain't so, Marshall.
Say it is fucking so. I know it from
Yeah.
Family Guy.
Oh my God, what's the scene? What's the scene? We gotta get a Family Guy counter on.
What's the scene? Ooh, what is that? What is that? Is that five? Is that 5, 6? I think we might have 5 or 6 by now.
Well, this is the third one, but what was the scene that you got it from?
Oh, the exact scene of him in the drive-through, hearing her over the intercom, and then I believe Peter in the actual episode tells Lois that you can't tell me what to do anymore, and then she asks for more salt. So, and then he says, "There's one more thing you can ask me to do," or like some shit like that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And another point that I find really interesting, especially with her character coming towards the end of the movie. Do you remember like very early on when she was listening to like her cassette tapes in the car
Yes.
about like empowerment and all this? And
Yes.
then it goes to the point of her sitting on the side of a road, which also kind of looked like a bridge, just pouring down rain in the middle of the night. Terrible time to be driving. And she starts listening to something about proving that you are not a victim, and she starts playing with this gun that she got from the king of real estate, is who I'm going to name him as for now because I don't remember his actual name.
To quote Austin Powers,
And
the gentleman he's shagging.
from there, she drives home and she's planning on shooting him. And lo and behold, she comes home to a scene that she wasn't even expecting.
Yeah, that transitions us into sort of the third plot point. His daughter Jane, oh my gosh, she wants attention so badly, but she acts as if that's the last
She
thing she
doesn't want,
wants.
yeah, yeah. She
And
doesn't want to be touched with a 10-foot pole.
that is fantastic writing. Characters who say one thing but do the other. It's very basic screenwriting. And it works tenfold because she piles around with Angela, the girl who her dad has the hots for. She pals around with her for the first act and basically tries to emulate her. Angela says all of these things about sleeping with other men, and Jane's like, "You're disgusting." But Jane becomes attracted to her neighbor, Ricky Fitz, which is such a funny name. She becomes attracted to Ricky Fitz, who is infatuated with her. What do you think about Ricky?
What do I think about Ricky? In the very beginning of the movie, when I first heard him talk, I thought this character had. I thought he was a little bit on the spectrum, just the way he was talking, but I don't know, it was just dubbed. It was just the mic audio was probably weird because from there he talks completely normal. He is an absolute stalker. He's been getting videos and photos of this girl before she even knew he was around. Before they even moved in, mind you. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yes, I did. And like the first time. I love that they switched to the different camera because I feel like that wasn't
Yeah,
something movies did as much back then. This is the same where Blair Witch came out, but it wasn't really that common in mainstream cinema.
and this dude is just absolutely stalking her, just recording her at every absolute chance that he can get. And then he tries to sweet his way into the family by, at that convention that Nathan was taken to by Carolyn, he ends up being a bus boy or a caterer. And then he ends up going outside to smoke a joint with Nathan. And then that kind of creates a connection between them because Nathan starts buying weed off him.
It's Lester, by the way.
Oh, it is Lester? Shit, I've been saying that wrong this entire time.
No,
Holy
you're
fuck.
good.
And then we get to the point of Ricky's father. What's his name?
His name's Colonel Frank Fitz.
Colonel Frank Fitz. And he is just your embodiment of a stereotypical 1980s white American man.
Military
Just
man.
absolutely, yeah, military man. He is just absolutely derogatory towards everything that is not your white, blue collar American. He hates everything. He thinks that people are pushing ideas onto him, like, for instance, the gay couple that live next door simply bring him a basket of vegetables.
They're great.
And then behind the scene, when he's talking to his son in the car, a lot of slurs are said, which I thought was kind of crazy for this movie being rated PG-13.
Is it only PG-13?
I believe it is.
I'm pretty sure it's
Actually,
R.
no, there's no way it is. Actually, now I'm thinking about it because there's nudity shown.
Yeah, this is rated R.
All right, this is rated R. What did you think about Ricky's character, Lucas?
I feel like I have to disagree with the concept of him being a stalker. I feel like initially he can be portrayed as that, but even if his motivations are stalker-ish, I don't feel like he really came across that way as the film progressed. It seemed more like he was obviously he's abused. His father beats the shit out of him a couple times, but Ricky is kind of just searching for some sort of love in the world. There's a long scene where he films this, where he shows Jane this video he filmed of a plastic bag floating through the wind.
I
And
thought that was ridiculous. I immediately thought of fucking The Interview. It was
no,
terrible.
that scene is him. That's a metaphor for Jane. That's how she feels about herself. That's how he feels about her. She looks at herself as just a plastic bag floating through the wind. And he
It was
looks at
bad. I
her.
didn't even realize that.
He looks at her as an American Beauty. Roll credits. Um, he looks at the beauty of life in terms of authenticity, because he later even says to Jane, he says to Angela, Jane's best friend, that she's ugly, and in terms of
She's
her,
ordinary.
in terms of her inauthenticity. So I feel like Ricky's a lot more nuanced than just stalker, because a very intentional technique was put into the script. Jane makes the move on Ricky. Ricky does not make the first move. So I feel like this is a tormented soul with an abusive father who is just still trying to make some sort of meaningful connection. And obviously he's flawed. He projects his insecurities onto Angela, forcing her to run downstairs, which leads us to the climax, Marsh, where she and Lester almost shag. I'm going to use that term from now on. They almost shag. Probably the most disturbing scene in this film is when Lester and Angela are about to shag. And the pivotal moment, because in screenwriting, at least in Western screenwriting, a protagonist, their story is them chasing a want, a desire, no matter what gets in the way.
Yeah.
And Lester gets his want. Usually there's always a flip in terms of whether the character is aware of it or not. We, the audience, are aware of it. And his need is to be a father, a good father to Jane. And the flip comes when he's about to shag Angela, and he realizes that she's a virgin. She tells him that, which I did not expect. That was a good twist.
That was a very solid twist. I was not expecting that at all, considering what we were getting portrayed the literal entire film up until the last 15 minutes.
It's very simple, yeah. But in a way, it kind of makes sense. It makes sense why she's making these disturbing moves to him, because she's very clearly sexually unaware of, herself. And so he takes this moment, he processes it. This is the moment, sort of the point of no return. As if what he's already been doing hasn't been horrible, this is the thing that breaks Lester. And he looks at her as his own daughter and covers her back up, feeds her, nourishes her, and you see a completely different man. Like those last few minutes when Lester is alive, because spoiler, he gets shot. They kind of say that throughout the film in a voiceover. Lester becomes kind of the loving father to Angela that he should have been to Jane. And there's potential for him to change. There's potential for him to do better as he reflects on a photograph of him and his family from a very long time ago. And you get the sense that he knows better now. This is sort of his journey, his adventure. But, Marshall,
it gets cut short because he gets shot square in the back of the head. And at first, they had me thinking that Carolyn shot him because it's the exact same model pistol that she had in the car. But then we go on a little bit. We go through him kind of talking in an overview as, the scene is getting replayed as he gets shot. You see the perspective of Ricky and Jane, and then you see Angela, and then you see Carolyn, and then you see Frank, and you see the one pistol on the rack is missing.
Frank has a gun collection that Ricky shows Jane earlier in the film, and that's a point of contention when Frank beats the crap out of Ricky for invading that.
And another thing I wanted to bring up, Lucas, what I thought was the most disturbing scene was a scene that was very close in time frame to that. It was the night the night that all that happened, when Ricky got beat up by his dad and then he went to their house. What I thought was the most disturbing was when Ricky's dad came into the garage with the father, and then he started crying in his arm, and then he kissed him. I was baffled at that. I was like, how are you putting this kind of image, and then you try to turn to the other side?
No, it's the other way around. He is the other side, and he's trying to put up the image.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not click that at all.
No, yeah. Frank Fitz is a gay man. The fact that his wife is basically comatose just kind of proves it. And the reason Frank is so defensive, this isn't the first time he's wanted to kiss Lester. He's been wanting to make out with men this whole film. And he's just repressing it and lashing out and beating the shit out of his son because he beats the shit out of himself internally.
Man, I can't believe that did not click for me.
It's a
I'm actually
fantastic
baffled
scene.
at that.
It's a fantastic scene. It is just as unnerving as you know because they set it up that Lester's going to get shot soon. We just don't know how, we don't know when, but we know it's going to happen. And you think that's going to be him. It is him. But it takes like 15 minutes for us to get there. That initial scene is probably that scene is insane. Like the acting, the lighting. Yeah. Oh my god, I love that scene.
It's in depth as hell.
What did you think of the whole him speaking from the afterlife? Like, what did you think of the ending?
I thought the ending was great. I did like how he went on his final spiel, and just he was still himself at the end of his life, and in the afterlife he was still cracking quips and just saying absolutely nonsensical shit. And then at the end, what the hell does he says something about realizing something.
He found beauty in the
even
world.
Though you might. Yeah. Even though you might not see it now, you will one day.
Oh, and so good.
This movie can speak to you on a just absolute nonsense level of comedy, and this movie can also speak to you spiritually, which I think it does pretty well.
Yeah, good comedy gets you to care. I love the score too. I don't know if you thought about the score at all. I love it.
Oh yeah. So the music decision was absolutely great. It was timed perfectly during the transitions.
How does this rate compare to the other films that we watched?
How does this rate compare to the other films that we watched?
What are you rating it?
This movie is by far, I think, the funniest movie we've watched.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy bits.
The acting was absolutely impeccable on all parts. Like we'll give it a 4.5.
I'm also giving it a 4.5. Initially, I was thinking of 5, but I give 5s to films that really speak to me on a personal level. And this one, the only thing that really speaks to me on a personal level is the idea of rapid change, being bored with your circumstances and trying to do anything to make change in your life. I feel like I've gone through that phase a couple times over the last couple years. In terms of where we rank this film, the top 5 movies we have currently, because I know this is going up there. Number 5 is Toy Story 3. Number 4, Reservoir Dogs. Number 3, Joker. Number 2, Come and See. Number 1, 2001. In that roster, where do you think it should land?
I think it should go 3. Take over Joker's spot.
Okay. I can respect that. Let's put it there. American Beauty going below Come and See and above Joker. So coming up next week, we're going to be looking at the 1995 epic directed by Mel Gibson. It's Braveheart. Scottish warrior William Wallace leads his countrymen in a rebellion to free his homeland from the tyranny of King Edward I of England. I have never had any desire to watch this, but what do you think, Marsh?
I think we're in for a treat. I've heard this is one of Mel Gibson's best movies.
I'm excited. Did you hear he's making a sequel to Passion of the Christ?
No, I did not. I didn't even know he was in the first one.
No, he made the first one.
Oh, he made the first one? Oh,
yeah.
More you know.
Yeah, he apparently we are actually going to hell with Jesus, quote. So stay tuned for that.
Now you got me questioning about this movie. God damn it.
All right, that wraps up this week's episode. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, smash that notification bell, share us with your friends, share us with your relatives, share us with your grandmother. Grandmothers love to hear 2 20-year-olds talk about American Beauty. Check us out next week.
Peace out.
You